I am so excited to be talking to Keith Mueller. You are a sci-fi specialist author. You've been on my television show, my radio show, and now you're here on YouTube. Tell everybody a little bit about your books.
Well, my books, I have 3 out currently. The first 2, which you see over here, are the first 2 in a series. Journey to the Black City is the first one. And basically the series is set in an alternate universe Earth where things are kind of like they are here, but different. For instance, there's only, in what we would call the United States, there's only 7 cities left in existence. And each one has its own independent government because there was a pandemic influenza 2,000 years previously that pretty much wiped out the human race. And now they're just starting to come back. So the environment is basically like late 19th, early 20th century. Everything is steam powered. They don't have airplanes, but they do have airships, zeppelins, blimps, that type of thing.
Crazy.
Yes, it's wonderful.
Your imagination is pretty crazy too.
Well, I try. I have always had a pretty good imagination for all kinds of things. I wrote stories when I was in high school that my teachers kept giving me A's for.
That's great. That's why you're here.
That's why I'm here. Yeah.
Tell us more.
Well, the book is basically about these kind of conflicts that come up in any society. There's basically the tribal people who live out in the wilds between the big cities. And what happens is an airship comes and kidnaps one of the main character's grandfather while he's out on a hunting trip. And he can't finish his training as a shaman without his grandfather, because his grandfather was his teacher. So they believe that he was taken to the Black City of the West, which is Los Angeles. And it's called the Black City because all the buildings are made out of basalt and granite. And if you were standing on a hill looking down on the city, it would be dead black.
Crazy.
And then there's the black airships in the air. And so the basic conflict is the city people go, oh, you can't trust those tribal people. You turn your back on them, they'll steal from you. And the tribal people are taught, oh, you can't trust those city people. You know, they're dangerous and, they'll get you addicted to drugs and they'll try to kill you and all kinds of stuff.
Sort of how we are here, right?
Kind of, yes. That was the point I was trying to make. I was trying to take some of the problems we face in our society and put them into another universe where people in our society can't really get offended.
Crazy. Now, you can get your books on your website, which is krmueller.com. They can also go to amazon.com and get them there as well.
Yes.
You got a couple of more here, too.
This book is separate from the series. This book is young adult, safe. It's actually the first book I wrote years ago, way before I had a computer. I hand wrote it. And it's called The Devil's Rifle. And it's set in an imaginary town a little bit north of Prescott. And the impetus for this story was that strange chimney in Mueller, Arizona. I remember years and years and years ago, way before the days of the internet, we'd drive up to Prescott and we'd pass that chimney up there and I'd think, I wonder what it is. And then, of course, the other thought for people who think like I do is I wonder what it really is. So I decided to write a story about what it really is.
Wow. And what is it really? Can we tell a little bit?
Well, the story is a science fiction story. It revolves around a fellow named Kurt Paxson, who's a high school senior, who wants to go to ASU and major in art. And the past history of Hobbes is a troubled history. Back in the 19th century, teenagers and children were disappearing and never to be seen again. And back then it was thought, well, they ran off or they went out in the woods and got killed by a wolf or something. And they were never found. And then the lumber mill exploded. And it almost burned the city to the ground. And the only thing that was left was this chimney. And the locals began calling this chimney the Devil's Rifle. Although nowadays, it's now in the 1990s when the story takes place, and nobody really knows for sure why it's called that. It's just a name that's stuck since the late 19th century. And then children start disappearing again. And it looks like whatever dark secret is haunting Hobbes is still there, still back, still just as malignant and dangerous as it was back then.
Now, this book, is it a series as well?
No, this is a standalone story all by itself, yes.
Now, what about this book here?
This book is the second book in the After the New Earth series. It's called Journey to the Jungle City. And basically what it involves is once the characters get to the Black City, Los Angeles, they find out that that Kel's grandfather isn't there. That for some inscrutable reason he's been taken down into what we would call the Amazon jungle. And down in my book they call it Green Hell, or just the green, because it's one of those things where civilized people go there, but they never come back. And so it was an area that has been avoided for centuries. And there's legends of monsters and man-eating animals, and now all of a sudden...
Sounds like our own society.
Yeah. Now all of a sudden this fanatical religious leader, who's extremely dangerous, is building cities there on the northern border and on the river, what we would call the Amazon. And things are happening both in the Black City, Los Angeles, and in the Jungle City. Forces are arrayed against each other, forces of the light and the dark, facing off against each other.
Keith, do they have to be read one after the other?
Yes, in this series it would be best if they were read, because it's a continuing story through all 6 of them.
Well, I'll tell you, if you are a sci-fi lover, Keith Mueller, they're the books to read. Now, you can get them on the website, which is K.R. Mueller, that's spelled Mueller.com.
That's correct.
Or you can go on Amazon and you can get them there. Do they come on Kindle and all of that?
They come on Kindle and Nook, and they're theoretically going to be available on audiobook. I think a couple of them may already be.
Now, this is a series of 6. When will all of those be done?
Well, book number 3 in this series, the cover's already done, and of course the whole series is written. And we're just waiting for the publisher to get them published. And
Where
it should
do you
be
get all
soon.
your ideas?
Well, my ideas for the Black City actually came years ago from the music of the Doors.
Man of my liking.
I would sit and listen to the long version of Light My Fire, and the first time I heard it, my mind said this music is ancient and dangerous. And I would close my eyes and just listen to the music, and I began seeing this city. Black buildings with windows barred up to the 70th floor. A giant black Zeppelin in the sky, backlit by the Aurora Borealis. In the street, I was seeing, this is like 1979, 1980, steam-powered automobiles, but also men on horses wearing fur and leather armor, carrying spears and swords, but with rifles strapped across their back. This odd, weird blend of sort of quasi-modern stuff, but extremely ancient stuff at the same time.
Man, your mind must be just crazy.
Well, it probably is. But it's a good kind of crazy.
Absolutely, but this sci-fi, again, that's what it's all about, and the crazier the better.
Well, it is, and one of the things that I don't like is I see movies that are nothing but CGI. There's no story to them. There's just giant robots chasing each other through the street, and hundreds of people are dying because both the good guys and the bad guys are just stepping on everybody, and we're not supposed to pay any attention to that. And so I was trying to deal with it on a more personal level, where these characters are real people. And it took a lot of research into like the Pleistocene Ice Age and how people talk and the different languages. I started listening. I'd go to a garage, and I'd listen not just to what people were saying, but to the background sounds. You know, if somebody drops a wrench, what does it sound like when it hits the floor in the garage as opposed to what it would sound like in my house?
Wow.
The little details like that, I think, are what makes the story real in somebody's mind.
Well, what's really neat is that it actually has a story.
Well, yes, and the story involves people that are actual people. I think that readers will identify with all of the characters, even the bad guys. Everybody has a backstory. We learn why everybody is who they are. They're not just the bad guy and not just some cardboard cutout. They're actual in-depth people who have a past and a history that led up to who they are now.
Well, I think it's a great time to be coming on. Everybody loves a good read here in Arizona. Either you're going to be sitting by the fireplace or it's going to be really hot outside, and everybody likes that. And sci-fi, it's awesome. These books here are for children and adults, or?
This one is for young adults, like the 17, 18-year-old is fine. This series is for adults.
Okay. Yeah. And again, you can get it on Amazon.com. Again, Kindle and what else?
And Nook.
And Nook. And again, you can also go to his website and check him out. It is K.R. Mueller, which is Mueller, and check him out and see the books that he's written. I know this is a 6-book series.
Yes.
The others will come in concession, but you have to read them that way. It's
Yes.
the best to do it that
Yes.
way. And maybe if you want to get his first book that he's ever read, that he's ever written, is The Devil's Rifle.
Yes.
And again, check it out. It's been around. How long did you write that book?
Well, I wrote it before we had computers, so it would have been probably I think I started writing that in the late 1970s.
Wow.
I got the idea for it from seeing that chimney, and it just kind of grew and evolved and changed and became what it is now.
What I also like about when you read a book that has also been in here, I'm sorry, not in here, but here in Arizona, we can really relate to it completely. Check it out. It's krmueller.com.